big time pleasure to bring Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick on the Washington Football Talk podcast. I'm going to do a timestamp on this, and I'm going to make a guess. It is Thursday at 2:30, and Ryan, you are known for liking your interviews very early in the morning. I think that's because you have so many young kids. But 2:30, my guess is might be nap time for some of them. Is that why we're doing this now?
We've got 2 down for nap. I just picked 3 of them up from school, and then we've got a little bit of a break here before I had to go back and pick the other 2 up.
So I only have 2. I have a 5 and a 2-year-old, and my best times during the day are that kind of 1 to 3 range, where maybe one's asleep and you get at least one arm to yourself, but you're in a whole different world.
Yeah, but the scheduled nap time is incredible. It's something that I would recommend for all parents.
What about for yourself?
I don't have to schedule one, I mean, I love falling asleep on the couch. Usually, watching golf during the day or something like that is something easy to fall asleep to.
A good golf nap is an elite nap. That's up there, especially if it's like some random, the tournament in Connecticut or whatever. Like that's a perfect Saturday afternoon nap. You've probably been asked every football question. So what are you most excited for about coming to Washington besides Terry McLaurin or Ron Rivera or Scott Turner or Adam Humphries now? Is there anything that maybe hasn't been explored that you're stoked about coming to town?
Well, I mean, I think it's a new adventure for my family, for my kids. And, that's something I'll be really excited about once we figure out where we're going to live, where we're going to go to school, what sports teams are going to be on. That's something that just kind of the human element of it that people forget about a little bit, but it's going to take a lot of work and figuring out before we get comfortable and become excited about it. But as soon as we get that out of the way, it's going to be an incredible experience. Everywhere we've gone, we've met great people, and just being in, I guess we're calling it DMV, right? Is that the area that
works?
Nicely done.
Yeah, DMV. I just think there's so much to do, so much to see that it's going to be a great place to live.
So I wanted to ask you this, like normally new quarterback signs with a new team, there'd be 100 questions about, are you going to be able to pick up the terminology? Are you concerned with a new system? It's your third system in 4 years, all those types of things. With you don't get any of those questions. There's this assumption that because of your experience level, you'll just pick it up on the fly. Is that accurate? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many ways that you could run these plays. It's just everybody does call them things that are different. So the last time I was in a system, terminology wise, that had any similarities to this one was 2005. So it's been a long time. I've been a lot of offenses since then. So this is very foreign to me in terms of the language and terminology, but I think the assumption's okay. I'm going to, work hard, do the best I can to pick it up, and we'll go from there.
When you're learning a new offense like that, is it something that by the first game of the season you feel comfortable with and the terminology you have down, or is it something that it's kind of something that you're constantly working on, learning, tweaking as you go through a season like this?
I think my biggest thing is I don't know what's going to happen with the off-season workouts, but let's just say that we start virtual, which it looks like that's the way it's heading. When we start these virtual meetings, I mean, I'm a guy that needs to know what I'm doing, needs to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I need to, when we get, to the actual OTAs, if there are any mini camps or training camp, I need to know what I'm doing, and I need to make sure that I'm instilling confidence in everybody else. So to have the terminology down pat by the time I show up is a big goal for me. It's something that I think is very important as a quarterback, just in terms of your presence and leadership and all that. You need to be able to know what you're doing and saying, and that'll be a big goal for me, just to try to do as best I can to digest and figure it out.
This one's a bit out of left field, but if you do enough of our pods, you'll get used to that. I'm happy you brought up 2005. You played Washington back then in 2005, and in that game, you took a sack from Sean Taylor, and today would have been Sean Taylor's 38th birthday, April 1st. So I was just wondering, do you remember that game? Remember that sack? I think it was one of your first games as a pro, and just what was it like being sacked by Sean Taylor? You kind of got somersaulted there.
Yeah, I do not remember the play, but I do remember that he was an absolutely incredible player. Maybe even more memorable for me, though, I think it was 2006 against Washington. I had a flight to go home to Arizona with my wife for Christmas, and the game went into overtime, and we almost missed our flight. That one was very memorable for me.
I noticed this. I was just kind of looking at numbers and stuff. You and Scott Turner are almost the exact same age. I think Scott's like 2 or 3 months older than you. I think he's August of 82 and you're November of 82. Is that weird to have an OC that you're the same age with? Or in some ways, is it easier? Because I mean, sometimes you work with older people and it's like, you know how to move the iPad screen, but you want to be respectful and let them figure it out, like stuff like that. Like, is it helpful or does it make any difference or is it even on your radar?
I mean, I've worked with all types of different guys, and Scott made sure to let me know right away that he was older than me. He looked it up. So even though we're both 38, he's got some months on me, but it really, the situation just depends. And for him, kind of being a guy that's been in and around football his whole life, I think more than anything, more than the age, it's, as a play caller, part of it is maybe have they played quarterback before? I think that's helpful. But as a play caller, is he giving you confidence? Can you tell as he's calling these plays that he has the utmost confidence in you to go out there and by the way he's calling a game, is he not afraid to let you take some shots down the field, that kind of stuff? And that stuff's going to come through the off season, through some of these, the training camp preseason and the beginning of the season. We're going to try to figure all that out, but I don't think the age is that much of a factor.
So how does it work then? Like you had, I think you told us at least 4 teams really looking at you. When your agent lets you know that information, do you start watching the tape of those 3 or 4 teams that you're really thinking about and say like, man, I feel like I could really fit there? Or have you since watched the tape? Like, how do you narrow down what you want from a team you're going to join?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors that go into it, but it has never been, let me watch the tape, let me, handpick the guys I want to throw to. A lot of times for me, it's just been about opportunity. And, is this the best opportunity for me to get on the field, to be on the field, to remain on the field, and then you start looking at other stuff. But I've, everywhere I've gone, whether I was the starter or the backup, you get into these games with guys that you're not familiar with, and, you quickly figure them out and you go from there. So I felt it was a great situation because the opportunity that was presented to me. And I also think I just got lucky in terms of, I think there's a ton of talent on this team, and I think it's a great spot for me to be.
You've been asked so much about Terry and Curtis, and even Adam. What do you think? 2 players I wanted to ask you about are Antonio Gibson and Logan Thomas.
Yeah, I sent some video to Logan Thomas the other day. I saw him throw a dime in one of the games last year.
Yeah.
I do remember, him at Virginia Tech playing quarterback, but I'm excited to meet him. And then Gibson he really pops. I just watching football last year as a fan, it was, who is this number 24 kid? Holy smokes. Every time he touched the ball, it seemed like he was doing something special with it. So I'm excited to get to know them, on a deeper level, more of like a human level, and just, be able to establish some sort of personal relationship, and then hopefully it carries over to the field.
In years past, quarterbacks would get together with the receivers and throw during the offseason over the summer, kind of getting, in a rhythm. Obviously, with everything going on, that's probably not as easy to do. How often are you kind of reaching out to these guys and sending cut-ups like you did to Logan? Are you doing that with, Curtis Samuel and Terry and everybody and the rest of the receivers?
Well, I've got to figure out the offense first, and I think we'll have plenty of time for that. But I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of the guys like to throw on the off season. They like to invite the news crews and secretly announce, where they're throwing and when. And that's just, I think we'll have plenty of time. It's just not really very important on my radar right now.
when you're ready to do that, you can invite us as a news crew.
Yeah,
We'll be
I'll
happy to
tip
come
you guys
join.
off. Just don't tell anybody that I told you about it though.
We'll keep it quiet.
We'll come up with a cool nickname too.
I love that answer. And are you friends with Alex Smith? Because he said damn near the exact same thing when he first signed you back in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, Alex and I are the same draft class. We've known each other for a long time, and I think, the older you get, the longer you're around, the more you see through a lot of this stuff. So people aren't really doing it for themselves a lot of the time.
Wow, that is very poignant. While you're talking about kind of players you scouted or being as a fan watching this team, what do you think about Chase Young and just initial impressions and how much of a relief it will be to know he's not going to be sacking you, but other quarterbacks in the NFL now?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously being drafted as high as he was, physically, all the tools that he has, the season he had last year. But the thing that really impressed me, I've heard so many great things about his leadership ability, about his maturity, and he was one of the guys that instead of a text, actually called and for I don't know, how old is he? 22, 23. Yeah. I mean, for 22 or 23-year-old kid to, hop on the phone and call and reach out and make sure everything was good and let me know he was excited. I just thought that showed an incredible amount of maturity. But yeah, I'm excited. I've heard great things about him and very happy that he's not hitting me.
So as a quick follow-up, are you just as a new player, do you just get calls from random numbers and you just have to pick up like, okay, this could be my receivers coach, this could be Chase Young? Like, do you ever get spam calls in between all these other ones?
Yeah, it's a dicey situation, like obviously anything that pops up kind of from the DMV area, I'm answering. I learn quickly anything from North Carolina, that type of area code, I'm also answering that one. Mm-hmm. But a lot of my spam calls are like Arizona, the 480-602 numbers. So I know very well not to answer those. So hopefully I haven't blocked anybody that was really trying to reach out.
They're just trying to re-up your car insurance. That's all.
The spam callers got good at like using phone numbers that you answer. I don't know how they figure that out, but it drives me nuts.
Yeah, they're good. They're good at what they do.
I just looked this up. Chase Young is actually 21. He turns 22 on April 14th. So 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Now you can call him back and say happy birthday. You got his number.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll be in line for the COVID vaccine before him, I guess. I just missed out on the 40 and up, but I'm right behind.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I got 2 more questions for you. The beard is epic. You get asked about it, but is there any food you like stay away from? Like, I can't imagine coffee cake or like biting into a piece of fried chicken like that. The stuff that like crumbles off a little, does that give you trouble?
Nature Valley bar.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say like a powdery donut. That's like even a Krispy Kreme donut, not completely fresh and hot, but you bring it home and then you start eating it. Almost impossible.
Because the little like flakes of glaze,
they're flaking everywhere. And it's one thing if it's a piece of fried chicken or barbecue wings, because at least some of that when you find it later, it's okay. But yeah, I know, I guess the one gross thing is like when I'm eating a cheeseburger, I know that my mustache is too long when I start tasting my mustache when I'm eating the cheeseburger. So that's when I got to go to the barber and get it trimmed up. That's kind of the end for me right there.
We did a Movember fundraiser on the podcast where we all grew our mustaches for a month, and all 3 of us it was driving us crazy. Despite Pete can't grow one, but outside of that, it was driving us crazy. I can't imagine what that's like tasting your own mustache.
I don't want you to taste my mustache either, Mitch.
Yeah, none of us do. That's okay.
Last one, and all of this kind of leads me to this, right? You're like a cult figure in a way. Like you have this status that people love you and can't wait to see you on the field and talk about. I mean, Fitzmagic is a nickname. Like What does that feel like for considering all the ups and downs of your career?
I mean, through the whole thing, I've tried to be myself. I just try to be genuine, and I just think it comes across that way. You know, I do put in as much work as anybody, especially, you know, on the mental side of it and the film room and all that, and try to be as prepared as possible. And through that, I've always been able to gain the respect of my teammates. And yeah, I give everything I have to it. And I think that people appreciate me for that.
We got to do one more real quick. 2018, you had to play against the Washington franchise where you threw the ball forward to Adam Humphries. We talked to him. He was telling us that he was A, expecting the ball, and B, when you went back and watched film on it, the coaches said it was a good play. Take us through it. What happened during the play, and what was the reaction afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I try to get my kids to do a school project on that, the law of conservation of motion, because if you would have told me that ball actually went forward, I mean, I threw it and I thought I threw it 5 yards behind where I had originally thrown it from. So in my mind, it was wonderful. And really, if you think about, I mean, I was throwing it, and if he would have missed it, it would have gone, you know, to the sideline out of bounds. So was it that dangerous? But it was like 3rd and 19. So we needed to pick it up, you know. But that I appreciated Adam's comments on that, and I know that's a play that, you know, we had fun with together. But he truly was expecting that ball, because you never know what's going to happen.
I was in the press box, and that was one of the most fun plays I've ever seen happen. I know that much. I mean, we were all in the press box next to each other, like, oh my, it was fun.
I think we talked more about Ryan during that post-game podcast than Washington winning the game. We were all amazed, like, this is so much fun to watch him play.
The two games of your career that I've covered were that one in Tampa, and then 2019,
the comeback in Miami.
You came in the second half for the Dolphins. If you started that game in 2019, Dolphins win that thing, no problem. So I feel like I'm ready to hit the ground running once week 1 comes for the Washington football team. Like, I know the excitement that could happen here. I don't know, man. Fans are fired up. Can you feel that? Like, I don't think you're much of a social media guy, but can you tell the vibe in DC around your arrival?
It is kind of hard to feel just not being there, but I'm just as excited. I'll tell you that. I'm so excited to get this thing started. So the only social media stuff I really get or see is when people send me stuff. So there was one recently with me in 2005 and me now, and Frank Gore in 2005 and him now. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah. Oh my God. He looks the exact same. He hasn't aged a day, and I look a little bit different.
I bet if you shave the beard, you look exactly the same.
Ryan, thank you for the time, man. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.